Imagine opening your eyes in complete darkness. You try to move your arms, but you can't. You try to scream, but the sound never leaves your throat. The air feels heavy, thin, and wrong. Slowly, the truth settles in. You are buried. And no one is coming. This wasn't a nightmare. This was medieval Europe. In the Middle Ages, death was not always final when they said it was. Doctors had no stethoscopes, no machines, no real understanding of the human body. If someone stopped breathing, grew cold, or collapsed suddenly, they were often declared dead within hours. Sometimes minutes. Entire families were buried the same day they died, especially during plagues and wars when fear moved faster than reason. Years later, when graves were reopened to make room for new bodies, gravediggers began to notice something horrifying. Coffins with deep scratch marks carved into the wood, fingernails snapped off and scattered inside, faces frozen in expressions of absolute terror. These people hadn't died peacefully. They had woken up underground. The fear spread quietly. People began to whisper that death itself was unreliable, that the grave was not always the end. To calm the public, a solution was created. A small bell was tied to the wrist of the body, with a string leading up to the surface. If the person woke up, they could ring the bell and be saved. It sounded hopeful, almost humane, but the night guards told a different story. They spoke of bells ringing after midnight, faint at first, then desperate, ringing again and again in the darkness. By morning, the bells stopped, and the graves were never opened. No records explain why. Some say the guards were too afraid. Others say they were ordered to ignore it. Either way, the earth stayed sealed. Fear did not stop there. In monasteries and churches, breaking sacred vows was considered worse than committing a crime. Some sins could not be forgiven publicly. The punishment chosen was not execution. It was something quieter, something far more terrifying. Immurement. A person was placed inside a narrow stone chamber built into a wall. The opening was sealed brick by brick while they were still alive. No trial, no witnesses. Sometimes a small hole was left to pass food and water, at least for a while. Monks wrote about screams echoing through the stone corridors at night. Screams that lasted for days. Then they faded into whispers, then into nothing at all. Years later, when churches were renovated or damaged by fire, walls were torn down. Inside them, skeletons were discovered standing upright, trapped in place, fingers worn down to bone from clawing at stone, skulls pressed forward as if frozen in one final attempt to escape. No names were recorded, no graves were given. The walls simply closed again, hiding the evidence. But death in the Middle Ages didn't end with burial or punishment. When night fell, another figure moved through medieval cities. People called them night doctors. They arrived after executions, after battles, after midnight burials. Their job was to collect bodies for medical study. But medicine at the time demanded parts. Faces were removed to study muscles. Teeth were pulled and sold. Bones were crushed into powders believed to cure disease. Villagers woke to find corpses untouched except for one thing. The face was gone. Church records mention complaints and fear spreading through towns, but no one was arrested. Medicine needed bodies, and the dead could not testify. All of this happened in silence. No screams reached the public. No confessions were written. History recorded wars and kings, but left these horrors buried. And maybe that's why old churches feel heavy, why ancient graveyards feel wrong, why some walls seem to watch you, because some things were never meant to be remembered, and some were never meant to stay buried.